So round number 2 in the first match. Toilailee took the first pretty handily. TheCrydd just a bit sloppy in his Eldar execution, and that can be tricky because Eldar are such a glass cannon race that if you execute poorly, you just pay for it with a lot of requisition. I don't think he was quite using his Dire Avengers to the full potential he could have been, but we'll see if he is a little more favorable with Eldar. Inquisitor can be a huge pain with all of her control spells. She's got a lot of CC, can put out a lot of damage in the later game as well. So perhaps that will fare a bit better against the Space Marines. So Calderas Refinery, our classic one-on-one matchup. VP's right along the center, the Naturals up on this hill right here, so despite them looking fairly close, it's actually quite a trek to get from one VP to the next. Both sides capping their natural power and wreck, not really prioritizing one type of capping over the other. So Sentinel coming onto the field first, going for those double guardsmen into the Sentinel. Sometimes you'll see the Sentinel first, and that's normally a more harassment type of build. They'll send the Sentinel right out to like do something like disrupt the scout capping and decap the power, that sort of obnoxious stuff. But it looks like TheCrydd is going just for a more solid map control kind of build, or sorry, map presence kind of build rather. Get the Sentinel out with the guardsmen so that they have some repair options. You always want those two guardsmen out there, one to help the Sentinel and repair, one to either cap or technically or potentially threaten power with those flamers. But the Sentinel, of course, an intrinsic part of the Imperial Guard build. Toilailee sending those tacks again into the center. It seems like Toilailee likes pushing the tacks forward as quickly as he can and grabbing those early captures if he can so do. And especially with the Apothecary, the tack can take some fire while doing that initial cap and then get healed up, so it's not as much of a burden if your tacks get shut up while trying to capture a forward position if you don't have those heals on the field. A second squad of tacks coming onto the field for Toilailee, so no power for him at all to start up. He's saving up his requisition, getting that second squad of tacks out, which is fairly common again for Space Marine against Imperial Guard. You just need that extra firepower, that extra bulk that otherwise... Oh man, look at this crossfire. Tons of shots. Bolter's just blasting away into that Inquisitor. She has no choice but to fall back. And unfortunately for TheCrydd, I think that's going to be a pretty big downside. You really want to be able to drop that Inquisitor's first starting spell. The Hammers of the Witches get that damage and stun on the Apothecary and force them off. And then it's a lot more feasible to then force off these Tactical Marines as well, since they don't have that heal support. VPs, as it stands, are neutralized 476 to 500, staying there until these scouts manage to get the tap with the Apothecary with his twin squads of tactical Space Marines now just pushing forward and forward against the Sentinel, which can't really do much against all that firepower until they have the support of the Inquisitor. The Inquisitor can stun one squad, tie the other up, or stun the Apothecary. There's really a lot of options, but you almost always want your hero in that first engagement, no matter what race you are. You don't want your hero to get caught out of position like that Inquisitor did and forced off for that first engagement, or find yourself again in this position right here. Heavy weapons squad coming onto the field. I think TheCrydd recognizing, unfortunately from last game, that he really needs one of those to deal with the Space Marine threat. Dual attacks, still blasting away the Sentinel, but the Sentinel now getting his ground pound upgraded, getting a bit of additional HP and bulk from that, and now being able to charge in and stun. But you have to be careful against that with double tactical Marines. You can get in there, but even so, it's pretty hard, because if you miss that stun, or even if you do land the stun, you're going to be sitting at probably about a third of your HP after taking a full volley, especially if those Kraken rounds get activated, which do the additional damage to heavy infantry armor, which is what the Sentinel is armored with in this game. Devastator now on the field, double tack Devastator again, pretty much what you see fairly standard against Imperial Guard as a Space Marine player. We do have a couple gens now just finishing up over here for Toilailee, and TheCrydd not going for much power still. He does have both of the contested power nodes noted though, so he does have probably comparable power income. You can see he's actually only one power behind despite not having any gens at his farm. So he's bringing out some artillery spotters as well on top of an already fairly reasonable Space Marine Tier 1. We'll have to see if Toilailee goes for some vengeance rounds on this Devastator or not. We see fairly commonly those vengeance rounds have been coming into play against Imperial Guard because you can suppress everything and then start blasting into it with those more high damage rounds that do not suppress. Looks like one power node is going to go down over here, and the Apothecary's getting upgraded with the customized Storm Bolter, which gives him full auto ability. Devastator now under a bit too much fire. It looks like, oh, Scout's trying to come in with the grenade. Let's see if they manage to land it. It goes right into the thick of the Imperial Guard army. Oh my goodness. Tons of damage to both Guardsman squads. Takes out all but a lone model on that heavy weapon squad, but the artillery spotters come in, finally disrupt that Devastator. But unfortunately for the Imperial Guard, there's nothing to suppress this huge range blob that's coming forward here. The customized Storm Bolter does pretty heavy damage. So that on top of 2 tac squads on top of these scouts right there. Really not looking very good for Mr. Creed, already down by about 150 victory points. Was doing good holding power up until this point. He kind of had it spread out throughout the map, but taking that scout grenade right in the thick of his army was really all it took for Toilailee to gain the advantage and push him off the map. So the Sentinel's constantly been beat up. I think Creed really just needs to set up a solid position. He kind of underestimated, I believe, what the scouts could do to that army. He kind of thought that the Inquisitor would be able to push them off. He should have dropped the hammer instead of dropping that Holy Pyre ability. If he would have stunned the scouts, they wouldn't have been able to pull off that grenade toss possibly. And they're so easily focus fire down. There's no way they should have been able to just walk up to the IG army and throw a grenade right into the thick of it. He's kind of blobbing around right now, kind of unsure. I think a bit shaken after those couple engagements where he was so easily routed here. And now losing his power across the map. Again, using his hero to run around and cap the back end when I think more realistically he could be using one of the guard spots to do that. And really using the utility of the Inquisitor in these big fights, because he did go for that Holy Brazier, and if he's not using her in this battle where she could really be doing a lot of residual damage, stunning, that sort of thing, he's kind of wasting that upgrade, which, while not super expensive, is still something you want to be getting your money's worth out of it when you upgrade it, and that's just not been happening the way he's utilizing her so far. Finally going into Tier 2 now. Creed should not be far behind, but it all depends on whether he holds this gem farm, and it looks like that may be questionable going forward because the tacs are moving in on it once again. Inquisitor now way on the back line, gonna capture that central point if I were to guess, but she needs to get back up with her army. She's very much a support hero, and be a huge boon to her Imperial Guard forces when she gets onto the field like that. Toilailee has not bled a single point, but looks like TheCrydd might finally be doing so. Oh wow, a drop pod was called in over here for Toilailee, and Toilailee's just going to try to close this game out in Tier 1. 3 squads of tactical marines now. The Sentinel won't even be able to approach that kind of firepower. And again, oh no, he's just walking right into the Devastator. He knows where the Devastator is. He should have. He's got the artillery spotters here to knock the Devs forward, and good positioning on that, putting it just behind the Devastator. Oh man, and the Devastator may actually go down right here, taking a lot of fire, down to 10 HP. Let's see, the Sentinel might not be able to finish it off. Maybe the Inquisitor. Where'd that Inquisitor go? She's way back here. She can't do much because she's about to go down herself. Devastator escapes with 7 HP. I don't think the Inquisitor's gonna be so lucky. Down she goes. Oh my goodness. And that could be the last straw for Creed over here. He is managing to push back these tactical marines. Sentinel is taking a lot of fire, though. He needs to be very careful as the Apothecary is moving in on this far side. Tactical marines are fortunately not in a position to do any more damage to that thing, but unfortunately, Creed just kind of walked into that Devastator. Really, you don't. I mean, when you know you can deal with the suppression, you feel as though that you can kind of push forward into it, but you still want to get it knocked down before your whole army gets suppressed. Because even after the gun stops firing, it takes your army a second or two to recover their courage, which is the statistic used, of course, for suppression, and get their firing back up to speed. So it's still a lot of potential DPS lost, even if you lose that suppression. Scouts do get the decap on this natural requisition point over here, which is the last thing Cridd needs. Getting some stormtroopers onto the field. Really, I feel, I mean, I know everyone groans at the Manticore, but if there's ever an army that needs to be Manticored, it's this tactical remaining mob right here. Ogrins, of course, could also do very well, but again, these tactical units could probably just start plasmaing on up, and oh man, so much range damage. That heavy weapons team goes down on retreat. There's now nothing to control this range pile.
Generator under attack.
Stormtroopers now on the field. They can get their hotshot rifles, which can do a number on these attacks, but now I think are all 3 squads now upgraded with their Sarges? I believe so. No, there's a single squad that is not, but I do see 2 Sarges on the field. 246 to 424. Even the Apothecary now with that bolter just blasting away at Guardsman. He's already level 2. He's fully kitted out now with his combat strength and improved medical equipment, so he can heal more, heal faster, and even put out some increased damage if he so chooses. So unfortunately, it looks like TheCrydd might be out of this game. He's really got it. He's going to have to pull out some serious maneuvers here to get out from under this hail of gunfire that 3 tactical squads can put out. Oh man, was that the... Yeah, just the focus fire and the combat stims from that Apothecary just singularly obliterated that squad. And again with the Inquisitor, full auto just knocks her right out of the match. Puts her on her back, and then she just takes a full volley of gunfire from 3 tactical squads. Stormtroopers had to cloak just to get out of there and keep from any further bleeding, and he's just going to keep the tax coming. Toilailee just going for tax spam right now, not hesitating, not using any requisition to reinforce these guys, but just bringing more and more tax onto the field.
Reporting Devastator has found us. Sir, they have been down.
No, that was not the attack squad. That was the commander drop pod. I'm sorry, that was not the global drop pod. My mistake. But even so, good grenade coming in from those stormtrooper squads, knocking down the Devastators. But at this point, there's not enough. Yeah, there's not enough to contest. There just isn't. Holy Pyre goes down once again. Apothecary can, his passive aura can just kind of heal those attacks up over time. Oh my gosh, look at that, just instantly down. You don't often see triple tack in a single player game, but when it happens and you don't have anything to do about it, this is kind of how it goes down. TheCrydd throws in the GG, and unfortunately a short tournament performance for Mr. TheCrydd. Toilailee will be advancing to the quarterfinals. 2-0 for Toilailee. We'll see if there's any other round of 16 matches going, otherwise we'll follow Toilailee into the quarterfinals here. And that was a quick couple matches to get us warmed up going forward into the monthly Rumble tournament.